My name is Tory Lauterbach, and I'm from here in Austin. I am also the president of the Texas Federation of College Democrats and an advocate for youth participation in democratic politics.
Tory, let me, for purposes of record, are you appearing on behalf of the Texas College Democrats or personally?
I am appearing personally.
Okay.
At my precinct convention on March 4th, I was elected to the Travis County Convention, and then at the convention, I was selected as an at-large delegate to the state convention. At the state convention, I was selected from my Senate district to serve as a delegate to the Democratic National Convention, and it was an amazing experience, and I'm glad I got the chance. But I'm here today as a proud Democrat and an even prouder young Democrat. I come before you today to speak about the obstacles to youth participation that are present in the current caucus system. By now you've heard about a lot of other obstacles that people have. The infirm, the sick, the elderly, and those who have to work all have obstacles to participation in the caucus. But one group that has been overlooked is students. That's right, although youth turned out in record numbers this year, many of our ranks were unable to caucus due to their work as students or due to the fact that many of them attend school far away from their hometowns where they vote. There are two parts to this problem. The first is the issue that thousands of Texas students are registered to vote in their hometowns, but they go to school in another area of the state or even out of state. While students attending schools in Texas could re-register to vote at their school address, many choose to stay registered in their hometowns because they feel more connected to their Democratic Party there, and they want to support their home, usually rural, Democratic Party. When we're talking about party building, that's certainly a consideration. These students either vote by absentee ballot or, more frequently, go home over the weekend to vote during early vote weekend. These students' votes unfairly counted for less than they should have. Many of those same students were some of the campaign's strongest volunteers from both campaigns. Speaking from my own experience, among the 10 most active student volunteers for Hillary Clinton in Austin, at least five of them were unable to caucus because they voted in other areas of the state. That suggests a high rate of students who voted but who could not caucus due to the problems of simple geography. Now, some may address the problem. Those were active volunteers. Those were people who were probably involved in their counties maybe before they went to college. Now, this may be true, but while we're talking about party building, these were students who already had the motivation. They were already excited. They're the kind of people that we want to have at these caucuses, and yet their vote wasn't able to count. So, if we are trying to build our party, certainly we want to include these young people in the organization. The second issue is that the caucus takes place in the middle of the height of what is traditionally midterm season. At most Texas schools, these midterms take place at night. Students from across the state, including at UT, missed the caucus either because they were taking a midterm or because they were studying for a midterm to take place the following day. While the scheduling conflict did not keep away many of the most passionate voters, it did discourage many students from getting involved in attending the caucus, a fact that will stay with these young voters as they grow older. This brings me to students who were able to caucus and the obstacles they still faced. Here, student voters live predominantly on campus, in West Campus, or in the Riverside area. These precinct conventions in these areas were some of the most chaotic and largest caucuses in the community. And I fear that the chaos and confusion of this process turned off many of my peers and new voters to politics altogether. See, students in most cases have never voted before, and since they live in such concentrated areas, nearly everyone in their precinct is a new voter.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, just your time.
Please.
Please.
Okay, thank you. What that means is our student precinct conventions are run by new voters. They don't know the process, they haven't read through the rules, and often their precinct chair either wasn't there or hasn't been selected. So, long story short, we had some really chaotic conventions. I had kids coming out of the convention saying, they just passed a clipboard around. We don't know what happened. One of my kids who was registered in San Antonio and knew she wasn't allowed to caucus, found out that not only had her name been put down as signed in at the caucus, not by herself, but she was actually elected to the Travis County Convention. And she didn't even know. She didn't write her name down. So these problems can be fixed. I recognize the value of the convention, but I think that the solution that will best assure every student vote counts as much as any other vote would be to allocate all of the Texas delegates at the precinct convention. I know everyone's been here for a long time. I don't want to take up anybody's time, but I'd be happy to take your questions now about the impact of the caucus on the student vote.
Let me make certain that the record is clear. The yellow cards have down here who you represent, and the card has here that you represent the Texas College Democrats, but you're not appearing.
Right, I wrote that down by accident.
You're not appearing on behalf of the Texas College Democrats. You're appearing personally, right?
Yes, but I'm speaking with someone who has expertise as to how to turn out the student vote and how to motivate youth
No, I
Democrats.
understand that. Okay,
Yes.
but you're not appearing on behalf of Texas College Democrats.
That is correct.
And so you're appearing on your own behalf.
Right. We have not had a formal endorsement meeting
So
on a
for
position
purposes
on the two-step process.
So for purposes of this card, unless there's some objections, I'm going to strike through representing Texas College Democrats and appearing on our own behalf. Is there any objections to
Please
that?
do.
Okay. And I will initial it for purposes of the record. Are there any questions?
I would just like to say that for your information, that a precinct chair and a county chair are not selected. They are elected.
I know that's
They're elected officials. So we can get more participation if we have more people running for these positions, precinct chairs and county chairs.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Yeah, Tory, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your thoughts and your work. I told Erica Culvey, the Texas
I just talked with her.
And would tell you as well, I would be really interested in seeing some recommendations from CYDs, TYDs. That would be very influential with me if you all could work out some suggestions.
Yeah.
I believe in the future of the party, and I'm really interested in where you're going.
Yeah. And we are actually working on that. Erica Colhavy, which is our rural caucus chair of the Young Democrats, she has sent out a survey. She's also a member of the College Democrats, and we're working on developing an official position. Everyone that I've talked to so far who is a member of the College Democrats of Texas has been against the Texas two-step. I have spoken to chapter presidents, I've spoken to friends and peers, I've spoken to other former Hillary Clinton staffers, I've talked to people from the Obama campaign. Everyone had a hard time with the caucus, or with the precinct convention, and it's tough for students because we want our friends to get excited about politics. And when they left that convention on March 4th, they were not excited. They were exhausted and they were angry.
Well, I don't know you as well as I know Eric, but I will tell you both the same thing. It's not enough to be against. We've got to have some ideas as to where to
Right.
go.
And I do have a couple of ideas that I think that students would be more amenable to. If the committee decides that it's not practical to end the allocation of delegates at the precinct convention, I know it's more expensive, but I do think a Saturday meeting is much better for students. We don't have exams on Saturdays, and most of us aren't studying on Saturdays either. So a lot of us work part-time jobs, but we work more often on evenings than we do on the
You guys are
weekends.
not studying on Saturdays?
I'm usually working for the campaign, so.
And Bill's right. Try to do a survey of all the college campuses, because as an example, one of the problems that we're having down at Purdue A&M University.
Great kids.
Yeah, and the reality is that I think like at Texas A&M, there's a polling place. And I think there's one. Is there one at UT also?
Mm-hmm. Right on
But
campus.
for some strange reason, the county down at Purdue will not put I think I'm right about this, a polling place at the school.
Yeah.
And so, that's something we're going to be looking at in this legislation.
Yeah.